and you're listening to the Rebel Radio Podcast.
All right. It is, it's a little chilly, man, tonight. I don't know. I'm cold.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm cold in my house. I don't have the heater on because, like, I'm one of those people. I'm stubborn. I won't run the heater unless it gets like 45 degrees. You know?
Yeah, it's got to be pretty cold.
But yeah, for some reason I'm chilly. So maybe it's just old man moment and being I'm cold today. Yeah, I don't know.
Some people just get cold, man.
And
you know.
And yeah, maybe so. And man, and I'm sitting here looking at my computer desk and like, I don't know, the kids drop things. There's a hair tie here. There's nail polish. So it's mostly Waverly that drops things off. It's like, what? I'm like, what's all on my desk? I don't know.
I didn't leave that here.
Yeah, I'm like, I wasn't painting my nails in secret or anything. But
oh man.
But yeah, man. It's been like one of those weeks that I know we just we record every week, but it feels like I don't know. This felt like a very slow week. Like
yeah,
it feels like I haven't talked to you in like 2 weeks, even though I know I have.
It felt like a lot of time has passed. Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know why. I'm like it was nothing special happened this week. It was pretty normal. It just felt very slow. But it is Friday night, and we're going to give a shout out here in our show. Our other co-host Long, who is of course taking a little bit of hiatus from the show right now. It is his birthday weekend. So we want to wish him happy birthday, and it feels weird not doing a movie pick with him because usually we always get to pick our birthday movies. But
you know how he feels about Tom Cruise, so doing a Tom Cruise movie,
that's right,
kind of feels like it's good timing.
It is. It's a tribute to you, Long, for loving Tom Cruise so much.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I mean, other than that, he would have had us doing the Godzilla movie where weird worm things squirt sperm out of their things to fight Godzilla. That was really strange in the movie he had us do last year.
Yeah, that was weird.
I know it's his favorite movie of all time, and I'm not knocking the movie. I enjoyed watching the movie, but I'm like, that part was weird. Like, I felt like they were shooting sperm at Godzilla. I'm like, what's going on here? This is strange.
What were they thinking when they did that? Yeah, like, we're going to have these weird tubular shaped creatures shoot white gunk out of the tip of themselves.
Dude, there's so many. You watch a lot of those 70s flicks, man. There's some weird shit, and not just Godzilla, but just a lot of movies back then, man. What were kind of drugs were they on making those films back then?
Cocaine, baby.
Some weird stuff, man, in 1970s movies. But other than that, man, doing all right. This of course is the Rebel Radio Podcast, and this is Mark, and you already heard from Matt there, and but happy birthday, Long, for real, man. We love you, bro, and we're glad you're finally getting your pubes and turning 40 something. And
40-ish.
Yeah, we got to knock him a little bit, man. And he's not on the show, so you get your balls busted. That's what it is.
That's how it is, man. That's how it is for all of us.
We're gonna have a little cookout for him tomorrow, which will have already happened by the time y'all hear this episode, and sure some laughs and memories will be made, and it'll be a good time. So,
oh yeah.
But yeah, man, how you been, man? Your week good?
Yeah, week's been good. I didn't get to to watch as much stuff as I wanted to. I was gonna go to Tinseltown and Cinemark and watch Megan, but the wife wanted to watch Megan, and it's her birthday week, or a birthday month, whatever the ladies like to say, We get like half a day.
To be the whole month.
Yeah, I know, right? And then for us,
shit,
it's
we're not
like,
even half a day, man. If we're off the day, once breakfast is done, it's like, okay, you're done.
You're done. Yeah, I fried you a couple eggs. You're done. That's it. But no, she wanted to go see Megan, so I didn't get to see it. And but she's usually a pretty good judge of a movie, and she said that it was not bad, that it was entertaining but predictable. So I guess that means it's a solid horror flick. I was surprised to see that it was rated PG-13, and she actually said that there's a 3 or 4 year old sitting next to her in the movie theater watching this movie, which I don't know if I would go. Not all PG-13 movies are created equal. A PG-13 slasher, is not the same as Avengers Endgame. Right. So don't recommend taking your 3 or 4 year old there. For anyone who's thinking about it, don't do it.
Yeah, that reminds me. I'll never forget, man, when I saw The Passion of the Christ in theaters, and there's this family sitting in front of us, and they have these kids are probably 3, 4, 5 years old, and the scene where Jesus is beaten, they're like forcing the kids, you need to watch this. This man did this for you, and they're like turning their kids' heads and facing them. I was just like, the fuck, man, it's like these kids don't understand this. I can't. As an adult, it's hard to comprehend some of those elements of whether you believe in it or not, of what's going on the screen. And that's still, that was a bizarre theater. It is, you're right, to see kids in situations like that, whether it's a PG-13 or a hard R, it's like, it makes you think about things. Like, and it was really weird. They were like literally grabbing the mom and the dad were both grabbing their kids' heads and like forcing them to watch the screen as Jesus is beaten. And I was just like, what the fuck, man?
Wow.
That was bizarre.
Crazy, man. That's like, if the kids are, kind of squirming watching it, it's like maybe just, maybe they've got the point. I mean, maybe they got the point.
You've seen the movie. I mean, that was a tough scene for adults to watch. I mean, that was hard.
Was rough, man.
Yeah, it's like, ugh.
But anywho, I was able to, with your help, Mark, and thanks for lending me your Paramount Plus account. I was able to watch a couple movies that came out this past year. I wasn't able to watch in theaters. One of them was Devotion. It follows fighter pilot I believe it's Jesse Brown. Jesse Brown. He was the first black naval aviator commissioned in the Korean War, and which is pretty cool because I believe both my grandfather and your grandfather. Did your grandfather fight in the Korean War?
No, mine was World War II.
World War II. Okay, yeah. So there's not a whole lot of Korean War movies. Most of the Korean War movies were made in black and white, and there hasn't been a whole lot of recent ones. And it was cool getting a Korean War movie. It's shot pretty good. I like the water, all the water they're crossing. Obviously they're disembarking on a naval vessel when these fighter planes are going up in the air, and everything looks good. I think the dog fighting and the naval aviation fighting is not as good as something recent you might have seen like Top Gun Maverick. It's not as good as that, but it's still a good movie. It looks good. There's a lot in there about friendship, and who Jesse befriends, and it's all a true story. They even cite the facts at the end of the movie and give you some still shots of the actual fighter pilot and what happened, and his significance, and help turning the tide of the battle in some instances. So he was a good pilot, and it was cool watching it. So it's on Paramount Plus if you're interested. You like war movies, you want to see this one. I think it's a good movie to watch. I don't know if I would buy it and own it. I don't think it matches up to Saving Private Ryan or any of those. There's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of trench warfare. I really like seeing that trench warfare kind of stuff, like in Saving Private Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
and this movie just doesn't have that. You may find this movie better, than what I'm rating it as, but I think it's a solid B. Maybe even a B minus, just because it's lacking some more action than I think it should have. But it's meant to be more of a motivational movie, given its title. I mean, you probably get that, Devotion. It's not as direct as like Saving Private Ryan or 1917. I guess it's more of an inspirational title. So check it out. It's on Paramount Plus. I also checked out Nope, because why not check out a horror movie? And that's a movie directed by Jordan Peele, and it's about a phenomenon that's happening at a farm, is what I gathered from the trailer. And I thought it was aliens, and it's a little bit different. It is an Alien, but it's very it's been out for a while, so I guess I can talk about it. The hat, it's like this giant saucer that goes through the air, but and people think it's a ship, but it's not really a ship. It's a creature that is territorial, and it eats things in its territory. The actor who played Glenn in Walking Dead is in it. I like his character. It's got this creepy scene in the beginning where a chimpanzee that's part of a kid's show goes crazy and starts biting the show actors and kills them all and kind of goes crazy. And it's pretty creepy. I don't know why after seeing this, people were trying to say that Jordan Peele was the greatest horror director ever. It's a film that doesn't really make that case for him. I like it. I don't know if I'd watch it again. And he is good at directing horror, but like he said, John Carpenter's the best, and insert, or Wes Craven, you could probably put Wes Craven ahead of him. I think Peele's going to be up there eventually.
Hitchcock.
Yeah. Hitchcock, Peele, he's probably in the top 10 right now. Like maybe 9 or 8. But there's still plenty ways to go. But enjoyable movie. It's on Paramount Plus. You can check it out there. Other than that, I really wanted to watch The Last of Us, and I'm upset that I did not get a chance to, because right whenever I was going to watch it, I remembered I had to make potato salad, or else it wasn't going to get done in time. So had to make that potato salad for tomorrow. Yeah.
You're slacking.
I was slacking.
I did watch Last of Us. I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but I'm going to first talk about a movie I actually just finished today. I started last night, and I had never seen this, and that's The Way of the Dragon, Bruce Lee movie, where he fights Chuck Norris at the end. And I always wanted to see it ever since we got to see Chuck do his panel at Compalooza a few years ago. And he talked about when Bruce called him in, and he goes, "Oh, you want me to be a movie? We're going to be a team up or something." And Bruce was like, "No, we're going to fight each other. And I'm going to kill you." And Chuck was like, "Whoa, I don't like that idea." But, and so I finally watched The Way of the Dragon, which is Bruce Lee's wife's favorite movie of his. I found it okay. It's shot, it's all shot where they dub the voice in later and stuff, and it's well choreographed, as most Bruce Lee films are. It's the fight between him and Chuck at the end is awesome. Interesting because the movie we're doing next week, the original film of that series was filmed guerrilla style, which we've done on the show before, and that was Mad Max. And they actually did some guerrilla style shooting on The Way of the Dragon, and I realized they weren't really allowed to shoot in the Rome Coliseum, so they were given 2 hours to go in and shoot real quick while people weren't there, and they were told not to mess with anything, or so it's some semi guerrilla, but they didn't really have permits to do it, but they got permission to use the Rome Coliseum for a couple hours because I guess the people that were in charge knew, oh, this is Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. Of course you can use it. But it was cool. I bought it on Vudu has a bundle for sale for $10, man. And it has a Game of Death, Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, and the documentary of Bruce Lee. And it's 5 movies for $10. I bought that. I was like, you know what? Not a bad buy for all those films. And that was the first one I watched in the bundle. Of course, I've seen Fist of Fury. We covered it on the show last year, and I've seen that documentary before on Netflix about his life, but I remember it being very good. So I was like, it's worth having that. So it's good stuff, man. Bruce Lee was a phenomenon that was going far too soon from this world, but he left such an incredible legacy on the earth. So good stuff there. So I watched that, and I watched one more episode of Cobra Kai, and we'll have some Cobra Kai news later here in just a little bit. But man, this 5th season feels like a struggle. So I'm kind of glad the news came out today about the 6th season, because it feels like, okay, it's time to end this thing. But I did watch The Last of Us, man, and this is a show that I've been waiting a very long time for. A huge fan of the games. Even though I haven't finished the second game, I'm still a huge fan. And the premiere was everything I wanted it to be. It was perfect in a lot of ways. I mean, if you're a fan of the games and played them, you see all the little things they put in the show. It definitely, I mean, maybe it's jumping the gun, but it looks like it's definitely broken the curse of video game adaptions. And critics have already seen the first 3 episodes, and the reviews are through the roof, even past the first episode, saying that they really seem like they got this right. And any people that were concerned about the casting of Pedro Pascal as Joel, thinking they didn't look or feel the part, it goes away very quickly. 10 minutes into it, you're like, okay, he's Joel. and that just shows
the clips that I've seen. Obviously I've never played the games, but I found out, to speak to the accuracy, I guess in the game, the crops are what infect everybody, and they don't have pancakes in the beginning. Right. The daughter doesn't eat the oatmeal cookies, and then Pedro Pascal's character forgets the cake. Yeah, and so they don't have any of the flour, which would have infected them. So I like that these directors are really paying attention to the accuracy. Makes me wish they would maybe do a Resident Evil film. Take these same directors and apply that,
That's already been out there. There's memes already out there saying, hey, Netflix, this is how you do a video game adaptation. And they show Last of Us up here, Resident Evil down here. And the thing is too about The Last of Us, and it's hard to describe it in words if you've never played the game, but I'm sure some of our listeners have played the game, is that it was such a different video game experience since came before. And sure, there's been games that have been very cinematic, like the Resident Evil games or the Metal Gear Solid games, but there was something about The Last of Us that transcended that a bit. It really felt like a movie playing out. And the only times you felt like you're in a video game at times are when you're having to stop to upgrade your weapons or search through drawers for things you need. But the whole time, the rest of it, you really feel like you're in a movie or a television show. So it always felt like The Last of Us would always have adapted so well to the screen. And it looks like it has. And it's on Sunday nights on HBO Max. And the first episode was outstanding. I let Michael watch it. He's 14 now, and he's played some of the games, and he thought it was really good too. Maybe it's a little violent, little language for that age group. But if he's old enough and mature to handle it, I think it's fine. He watches it. I don't think I'd let young children watch it because it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I am super excited about this. It gives me something to watch, until Yellowstone comes back. And, because I don't follow a lot of TV shows anymore. Some of the Disney Plus and the Star Wars. So, and until Mandalorian comes back, which, it's coming back soon. And I think that's a good lead in. Let's talk some news, man. We got a new trailer this week for The Mandalorian season 3. It's fucking Star Wars, man. Give it to me. Let's go. March 1st. Can't wait.
Yes, sir.
It looks like, Mando is taking Grogu across the galaxies for further adventures as he tries to return to Mandalore to ask for forgiveness for his transgressions against the clan of the Mandalore. And it looks like some exciting things are going to happen, man. People are freaking out over the scene with the Jedi in it, but I mean, I'm willing to bet that's a flashback to Order 66. I mean, I just that's the vibe I kind of got. And
that could be it,
because we know Grogu was at the temple. It's kind of been revealed, so maybe they'll show the full story of how he was able to escape during Revenge of the Sith. And but yeah, man, I can't wait, man. I'm pretty excited about it.
No, it's like you said, it's Star Wars, man, and Mandalorian has not let us down. So. Come on, March 1st can't come fast enough, man.
Yeah. People were upset that Dave Filoni is not directing the episode this season, but hey, he's working on the Ahsoka show, I'm sure Mandalorian, Jon Favreau, it's in good hands. I'm not too worried about.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah. Bryce Dallas Howard's coming back to direct episodes. She's done a couple of really good ones. A couple other names on there that have done some episodes in the past. It'll be fine. I'm sure Filoni and Favreau know what they're doing at this point. I mean, I think they've been successful. Even people that didn't like the Boba Fett show as much, overall, it was still a success for Disney. And So far I've liked everything they've done. I'm fine with it. So I'm good with that. And I mentioned Cobra Kai earlier. Netflix announced this week the season 6 little teaser came out, and I actually didn't watch the teaser because I haven't finished season 5 yet. And they announced that it's going to be the last season of the show. I think that's a good idea because it's one of those shows that we've talked about this before. It should not have worked. The idea on the surface, like, this is stupid, but somehow it worked. But it only works to a certain extent. It's this 5th season has felt like a chore to watch. It feels like it's kind of getting repetitive. I think it's time to end it.
The first couple seasons were pretty good.
Yeah.
Free season 1 and 2, and then it's season 3 wasn't bad,
Right.
But it's like it's definitely kind of gotten out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
it's
even more ridiculous than I think it needed to be.
Exactly. It's one of those things that it's like, it's run its course. Let's end it, tell a good story, and be done with it. And I think that's where we're at that point with it. And that's fine. But they didn't give a premiere date of season 6, but a lot of people were saying this summer, so pretty soon.
Makes sense.
Mark Hamill, he hasn't spoke a whole lot about Kevin Conroy other than paying tribute to him, and he was asked. I'm not sure what he was doing interviews for. I think he's got some movie that's coming out on one of the streaming services. I think he actually appears in, and asked about would he play the Joker again, and he basically said, anytime they would call him for a project, he would ask, "Is Kevin doing Batman?" They would say, "Yeah," and if Kevin was in, I was absolutely in. He said, "But now that Kevin's not here," he goes, "that my Batman's not here, so I don't think I don't plan on doing it again anytime soon, or if at all." And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but it just puts into perspective of sometimes we take celebrities for granted, and how big they are to us. But man, they're humans too. And Mark lost a very close friend in Kevin, and he just could not feel that he could do that voice of the Joker again without his Batman by his side. And I think that says a lot, the importance of how big Kevin Conroy is.
Yeah, he said that he felt like there wasn't a Batman out there for him. His Batman's gone.
Yep, and that's fair enough, to be said. Steven Spielberg kind of let loose. He was he's out doing he was at the Golden Globes or one of these award shows. His movie The Fabelmans, which I want to see. Waiting for it to go streaming though. He's at, and John Williams, of course, scored The Fabelmans for him. And they've been lifelong friends, going back to doing Jaws together and Raiders of the Lost Ark and E.T. and numerous film projects. And he let it loose that he's making a documentary about John Williams' life. And that's cool.
Wow.
I mean, what a better way to tribute the maestro, than John Williams by making a documentary of his life. Because it came out, they jokingly said, "Hey, are you gonna make a live action movie about John Williams or a autobiography?" And Spielberg's like, "No, we're doing something better. We're doing a documentary about his life." And that's really cool, man. I would imagine it's gonna be full of great stories of these two guys and the things they've been together. And of course, he scored the movie we did last week, Catch Me If You Can. He did Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars. I mean, you name it. John Williams has been a part of pop culture and movie history as much as anybody in the last 40 years. I mean, or plus. I mean, is there a bigger composer than John Williams? I mean,
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, he's.
I don't think you can come close.
Mm-mm. And with Spielberg involved in producing the documentary, it's going to be a special project, and looking forward to that for sure. Did you watch any Invincible on Amazon? I think I watched like the first episode or two.
Sure did. I watched it all.
Did you? And it's kind of just been sitting there. People wondering what happened to it. Well, they finally announced that season 2 is coming later this year. It's from Robert Kirkman, of course, who created The Walking Dead, and he also did the Invincible comics. And so season 2 is finally coming. It feels like it's been a while. I imagine various reasons why season 2 has not been out yet. But Invincible fans, you'll finally get your second season later this year. And man, this has been a long gestating rumor around Disney as if they were ever going to make another Tron movie. and it looks like it's going to happen. Tron 3 is finally going to happen, called Tron Ares, and it's going to star Jared Leto, who was apparently a huge fan of the series, and Jared Leto has been pushing for this project to be made for the last couple of years, and Disney, didn't seem to have interest, and I can't help but wonder if this has to do with Bob Iger stepping back in and saying, "Yeah, let's go make another fucking Tron movie," because people like it, and I've always thought the Tron concepts are really cool. Both movies, Tron and Tron Legacy, are both entertaining in their own right. Maybe they're not perfect movies, but they're cool ideas. It's a cool series. I'm down for it.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely stand for another sequel. I would welcome it.
Yeah, and Jared Leto, he's become a good actor in his own, despite making Morbius what didn't turn out the way that people wanted it to be, and with Leto behind it, and I can't remember who they said the director of the Maleficent sequel, I think is attached to direct to it. Was attached to direct it, so you would think that as successful as Top Gun Maverick was, that you would ask for I don't want to say his name wrong, so I'm going to look it up, but he directed Tron Legacy.
Okay.
And I can't seem to type. Here we go. What's his name? Joseph Kosinski. Of course, he directed Top Gun Maverick. He directed Tron Legacy. So with his success right now, you would think if you're making a Tron 3, you would think Disney, with all their money, would call them up and say, "Hey, you want to come make Tron 3 for us after your success of Top Gun?" But who knows? Maybe they're going a different direction. Or maybe they did call him. His asking price is too high. I just made Paramount $1 billion fucking dollars. You better pay me some money. Who knows?
Yeah, dude, pay the man.
And but so Tron 3 is coming to theaters in the next couple of years. That's cool.
That's cool.
And then last bit of news I have, in Dragon Ball Superhero is finally coming to U.S. Blu-ray on March 7th, I believe it was. I didn't write down the date, but people have been wondering that. It seems like it's been a while to announce a release date, but there is finally a release date for it to come out in the U.S. on Blu-ray, because it already came out like right before Christmas in Japan on Blu-ray. So people were like, "Well, where's the U.S. release?" But apparently it is coming. I'm sure Funimation will probably have it for streaming soon. What's up with that? I thought Funimation was going away. It was all rolling into Crunchyroll.
I thought so too. That's what I'd been told, because I told someone that I had a Funimation account, and they're like, "Oh, you should just go Crunchyroll."
Well, see, that's what I did.
Funimation's still there,
I canceled Funimation and I have Crunchyroll because I thought it was all rolling over, and but Funimation's still there. So,
Yep. And Crunchyroll's still there.
Yeah.
So it's like one of them's got to go away, I guess, or maybe they just both stay again. I don't know.
Maybe they're ripping people off.
Maybe so.
And just like, we're just going to keep both services going, and these suckers are going to pay for it.
They're like, no one's canceling their contract.
Yeah. Now they need to Crunchyroll needs to get off their high horse and put a uncensored section on there. We'll be good.
Yeah, that way we can tell, what's adult and what's not.
I mean, it's so weird because Hulu, which is owned by Disney, they have uncensored anime on there, but yet Crunchyroll is still over here like comparing saying we're the anime kings, but yet everything's censored. Like, come on, man. Let's get with the times.
Yeah, dude.
If I want to watch Bikini Warriors uncensored, I should be allowed to.
Bikini Warriors.
Oh, that's another thing I watched. I watched the first episode. It's on Hulu. Have you ever heard of High School DxD?
Yeah.
Dude, it's like...
Is High School of the Dead?
No, that's different. There's two different shows. This is High School DxD. And it's about a bunch of perverted boys who are always trying to hit on the girls at the school, and then this demon shows up and kills this one guy, and it's bizarre, and it's all fan service anime, lots of tits and ass, and and but I just watched the first episode out of curiosity. But yeah, there's one called High School of the Dead too. It's a different show though. So, but so completely different things. But anyway, all right. Well, today's featured film in tribute to the birthday boy Long, who's not on the show.
Yes, happy birthday, Long.
He loves Tom Cruise so much, and even though he did admit that Top Gun Maverick was a badass film, and and he'll watch Tom Cruise films. He just has to. I don't know what's his word would be for Tom Cruise for him. He just.
I don't know. He just doesn't like. He's not like a huge Tom Cruise fan. He's always. I don't know. Every time I mention Cruise, he's like, Tom Cruise, that guy.
But today's feature film is the directorial debut of J.J. Abrams. So at this point in his career, had only been done television. You know, he'd done Lost and Alias and a few other things, and so he made his film debut directing this movie, and that is Mission Impossible 3. The third film in the saga, which people credit for saving the saga in a strange way because Mission Impossible 2 was not as well received by critics, but yet made money. So I'm not sure.
In a different way.
Yeah.
In a different way, saving it. We'll get into that.
Yeah. And, because all the movies in this franchise have made money so far. But it is kind of credited with bringing the franchise back around and saving the franchise. And it stars the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman as the villain. Billy Crudup is in there, and Lawrence Fishburne. And of course, this episode of the saga introduces Simon Pegg's character of Benji into the saga. Well, I don't know if I call it a saga. Mission Impossible into the series. Yeah, Mission Impossible is not quite a saga; it's more of a series.
Yeah,
but in this movie, it's also told differently story wise than some of the Mission Impossible films. As far as the way it opens up, where we see Ethan Hunt is been captured by the villain of and what's Philip Seymour Hoffman's character's name? I'm drawing a blank here.
It is. Isn't it Davian or
Owen Davian?
Davian.
He's captured by Owen Davian with Cruise's. We find out very quickly that there's a girl across from him. We just assume that it's someone very important to him at this point in the movie, and he threatens to shoot her, and he does go to shoot her, and all of a sudden it jumps the Mission Impossible theme, and you're like, whoa, what just happened? So it's kind of a different storytelling element. Then we go backwards.
And medias res.
Yes. And then we go back in the film to see what all led up to this, as we find out that Ethan Hunt has tried to settle down his life after saving the world from Chimera in part 2, and he's looking to get married, and that's who we find out who the girl was. And of course, his friends in the IMF all warn him against this, saying, you can't have a regular relationship and do what we do. And as we find out, he gets called into service to rescue a friend of his named Lindsay, who's found some information that seems very vital, and she ends up losing her life over it as she gets this information to Ethan. And we find out that there's a rabbit foot that Owen Davian is after, and we don't know what the rabbit's foot is, but we just know that it's Benji. Is it Benji that kind of reveals that whenever you hear about stuff like this, it's mythological, that it's end of the world kind of stuff, So
yes.
It's very dangerous. So they decide to go after Davian and get the rabbit's foot and stop him. But things ensue, of course, as they capture Davian initially. But this guy his network is so strong in the people he has, as he's an arms dealer, that he is rescued in an incredible freeway sequence in the film, which is one of the better action sequences of all the Mission Impossible films. It's really well shot by Abrams and really well done. And then he gets out and he turns the tide against Ethan Hunt as he captures his soon bride-to-be and pushes Ethan's hand to bring him the rabbit's foot. And of course, Ethan saves the day by the end of it and rescues his soon-to-be wife with some thrilling sequences of explosions inside people's heads that he has to turn off just in time. And we never do find out what the rabbit's foot is, but that's kind of the whole point in the movie, is that they go on these missions that sometimes you just don't know what it is, but you still save the day. And my first thought on this is, for a directorial debut, this is pretty stunning. For a first-time director, J.J. Abrams does a hell of a job with the camera in this movie. Tells a fantastically fast-paced story that never gets lost in itself. It's not so fast-paced you're like, wait, what's going on? It's well told, well acted throughout it, with some good actors. Extremely thrilling sequences, but yet he still manages to get all the tropes of the Mission Impossible franchise thrown into there, so you're still in a Mission Impossible movie.
Yes, and instead of the first two, which kind of felt like a James Bond film, kind of like a Brosnan James Bond film, and this film really just turned the tide. With Cruise, watching TV, seeing Alias. He said, I need Abrams. He goes, he gets Abrams. And what does Abrams do? He takes emotion and he immerses it with the action. And that's what keeps you engaged in this film. You have emotional connection within this film. Who's this lady in the beginning of the movie? I don't know, because Abram friggin' takes a Shakespearean action term and uses it for a Mission Impossible movie, and it's great. You see Philip Seymour Hoffman, boom, you're engaged with the movie. You don't know what's going on, but Tom Cruise is not the confident Ethan that we see throughout all these other films. He's first he's threatening, and then he's begging. And he's super concerned. He's at the end of his rope, it looks like. So you're like, man, what's going on? And you find out, he's retired after Chimera, and he's training agents. And like you said, trying to find that normal life, finds out he can't have it because people are going to find out who you care about, no matter if you're Spider-Man, Batman, or you're Ethan here. And that's what Abrams does a really good job about doing, not just shooting, but making sure there's that emotional connection that keeps you engaged within an action film. It's the difference between, Commando and this film. As much as I love Commando, you can't always, having a bunch of, explosions and guns going off is great and it can be entertaining, but it doesn't keep you engaged like, what Ethan has at stake, losing his friends, losing his wife, having people you care about put in danger. That's a whole nother thing. And Abrams is really good at it, especially at his first first go around.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, you're right. It's one thing I could take away, the first Mission Impossible film definitely felt more like almost like a James Bond type adventure. The second one was definitely a John Woo production where Ethan is a little bit more over the top, almost superhero like. You never felt like Ethan was in any real danger in the John Woo film. And I like the movie just because I'm a huge John Woo fan, as anyone listening to the show knows. So I find a lot to like in it, but I can agree that it's not this. There's no stakes to it. You never feel like Chimera is actually going to be released. You never feel Ethan Hunt's going to get hurt in the movie. You never felt that Naya was going to die. It just felt like this glorified, more Ethan Hunt superhero movie. And now J.J. Abrams comes in and immediately, like you said, in the opening sequence gives a emotional resonance to it where you're like, oh shit, Ethan's in danger, and you buy into it. And Owen Davian, Hoffman plays him so calm, cool, and collective that you believe that this guy, you kind of buy into, like, this guy's going to fuck shit up. And the whole movie, because they keep the rabbit's foot a secret, you don't know what it is. What's going to happen? And so it gives this intensity to this film throughout it. And then when he escapes on the freeway, you're like, oh shit, man, this guy's for real. This is a equal to Ethan Hunt, for once. And I love the freeway sequence. I think it's an extremely well shot action sequence. A lot of fun. And then you got this guy who's not as Owen Davian, an evil son of a bitch. He's smart, man. He uses these explosives inside their heads, and he puts one in Ethan's head at the end of the film, and you almost think for a moment, like, man, are they going to kill Ethan Hunt off? Because there was talks about early on that Ethan Hunt would die on screen and they would pass on the franchise to someone else, but now 7-8 movies in, Tom Cruise is still doing it. But there was talks of that one time, so you're like, yeah, maybe they will kill him,
For real. They could have. And it would have been a whole different kind of film. I guess kind of like more like a Bourne film. Yeah. But man, then Lawrence Fishburne's good in this movie. I almost forgot Lawrence Fishburne was in this movie. And of course, without this film, we don't get Ghost Protocol. I'll definitely say that this film made it to where we got Ghost Protocol. And another one thing I didn't know is that I guess because Abrams is going back and forth between doing Alias he's still got to finish the last season of Alias, even though he's directing this film, and he's doing Lost, and you had different people that were going to stand in for, I'll call her Felicity or was it a
Terry.
Yeah, was Scarlett Johansson gonna be her, or gonna fill in for his wife, or was she gonna fill in for Felicity?
I think it was Felicity.
Yeah, and then Carrie Ann Moss was another one.
Russell's the actress's name.
Well, Carrie is that Trinity?
No, Carrie Russell's Felicity.
Oh yeah, well, Carrie Ann Moss was gonna possibly fill in, but then because of all the messing around at the time and being available and not being available because of Alias, they had to pass over.
Scarlett Johansson was cast in the film early on, but pulled out.
I thought it was because they were going back and forth.
Yeah. She pulled out of the project and will eventually, I would never pull out of Scarlett Johansson. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah. Oh, man. But man, it's got the best, the intrusion scene. It's like, I know the first one in the first movie was great, but the Vatican scene is probably my favorite one out of all of them. It's just how it's got cars, it's got explosions, it's got the face mask, the voice recognition. It's got so much, and then trying to time the cameras. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it's probably my favorite of that, and the intrusion scenes that he has to do.
Yeah,
where he has to break into a facility.
I agree. I can agree with that. I think it's every Mission Impossible film has a great breaking into somewhere scene. And the Vatican one is good. I think it's only topped possibly by the Rogue Nation one where he has to go in the water cell and he's underwater. That probably tops this as far as security. But this one's still really exciting and good because, because it's just the way they have to do it because the Vatican security is really tight and they have to be really slick about things. And the way and this guy Davian is maxed by his people constantly. So they had to come up with the right plan to pull him in there and get him out.
Oh yeah. That was pretty ingenious how they did it. Pretty ingenious. And then they slipped through the sewers and the friggin' Ferrari explodes. Is that a Ferrari? It's an
fancy car. And Maggie
way.
Q's man, such a nice car.
Yeah. Had to blow it up though. Oh man. But this is a great film for many reasons. It's good on so many scales. And to your point, Mark, it didn't make as much as the other films.
Right.
It underperformed as far as the box office. But as far as setting a new tone and setting a new expectation and kind of showing us, a better take and approach to a Mission Impossible film. Mm-hmm. It's high marks on that. Yeah. For keeping the franchise going, of course.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the MI film that set that standard to where we are now after Fallout. It the first one is good for what it was, and the second one is the John Woo film, and we've covered both those in the show. But the third one kind of Abrams and Cruise's team set the standard for what was expected going forward as far as high-paced action, big action set pieces, and allow Brad Bird and then Christopher McQuarrie after that to direct their films with the same sense. It's almost like you could start the series with 3, and 3 through 6 all have kind of the same feel to them because they kind of got the format down. Maybe that's a good word for it. Starting with this film,
I could say that, yeah.
But the movie was successful enough overall, though, that it allowed them to keep making them. And of course, like you said, we were able to get Ghost Protocol and then Rogue Nation and Fallout, and now we're sitting here waiting for Dead Reckoning this summer. Which I can't wait to see. I mean, that looks. A lot of people think the new trailer is probably coming, possibly during the Super Bowl. So
that would be good timing for that.
Yeah, and because it's coming out in July, I believe. Dead Reckoning Part 1. And
so you got to get something soon.
Yeah, you can get a new trailer soon because they put out the first trailer with Top Gun Maverick back in May. To get the hype train rolling for it. But we talked about this franchise a lot and how successful it's been, and people, I've ran into people at work like, oh, well, I don't like Tom Cruise, and I'm like, man, but you're missing out on good films if you don't give the Mission Impossible franchise a chance. I mean, they really have been solid, and they keep getting better and better. And if you wanted to skip the first two, it's okay. Start with 3, man. This is where the franchise really kicks off. And this is also, not only is this where the franchise kicks off, you could argue this is where the franchise kind of gets a continuity. I mean, in the first 3 films, you have Ethan Hunt and Ving Rhames throughout them. But part 3 introduces Michelle Monaghan's character, who reprises her role later on as his ex-fiance. It introduces Benji into the series. So it introduces a lot of more continuity that goes throughout the rest of the films in the series. So I think you could say that.
Your core team of IMF agents.
Yeah, they didn't bring back everyone from this movie, but they a lot of them are still around in the series. And we didn't even talk about Billy Crudup in there. He's always a good actor when you see him on screen. Of course, he plays. Ends up being a corrupt agent by the end of it. Which is another Mission Impossible trope. You always got these rogue agents and stuff like that. But I like, sometimes people could argue that kind of stuff is expected, but I kind of like it. I expect certain things from a James Bond film. I expect certain things now from an Ethan Hunt film, that there's going to be a bad agent or things like that. It's like, that's what I go for. There's going to be a breaking in sequence. There's going to be a extraordinary action sequence,
Get the checklist.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I don't mind checklist movies. If they're entertaining and tell good stories and they're a blast, I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, the last one, Fallout, is still one of the best action films of the last several years. I mean, Fallout was incredible. And I think they're going to continue it as the series goes on with these next 2 films, and see what happens. But Mission Impossible 3, man, is a very exciting film. A hell of a debut for J.J. Abrams. In fact, it was the highest budget ever given to a directorial debut for a film at $150 million.
Wow.
They normally don't throw around money like that to first-time directors. But Abrams had a lot of success with his television shows and was building a name for himself. And, of course, this movie allowed him to go on to make Super 8 and Star Trek. And eventually he's making a fucking Star Wars movie, man, And I really like J.J. Abrams, and I want to see what he's going to do next. I know he hasn't done anything since Rise of Skywalker. He was attached to some DC projects for a bit there, but of course we all know what's going on over there at DC. And
a few changes.
Yeah. But I'm sure JJ, something will come up soon. I mean, I always thought that maybe he was the way to get the Star Trek crew back together, was to bring JJ back, let him make one more Star Trek film.
I bet, would be the smart move.
Yeah, I bet he could get Chris Pine and all them to come back together. But for a debut film, Mission Impossible 3 is solid. In fact, I saw on IMDb it's sitting like at a 6.3. I'm like, that's a better film than that. I'd say it's 7.3, 7.4. I think it's a better movie than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I give it a pretty solid, maybe a B+, A-. I think it's up there. Pretty solid film.
I would say, A-.
I enjoy
almost
it.
Perfect. Yeah.
It's a fun movie. I sat and watched it we recorded last week. I think I got up Sunday morning and watched it, and a lot of times, sometimes I'm so busy during the week we do these podcast movies, and I watch an hour here, an hour there, watch them over a couple of nights. But no, I got up Sunday morning and blew through Mission Impossible 3 in one sitting. So,
nice.
So it grabs you and gets your attention and watch it. And it kicks off unofficially our little mini threequel trilogy that we kind of did by accident over the next couple of weeks. We were making the list of movies. We're like, oh, that's funny. We're doing 3 movies that are the third part of these sagas. This Mission Impossible 3 is probably arguably the best of the 3 that we're going to do. But there's things to like about the next 2. And for the second part of this little mini threequel trilogy, we are going to cover next week Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
The world had been through a trial by fire, and only the greatest warriors and their deadliest enemies emerged from the flames.
Who are you?
Nobody.
Oh, mister, I can feel it. The dice are rolling.
He was the one they called Mad.
But he's just a raggedy man.
But to those whose lives hung in the balance,
Where's the waiting ones? Waiting for what? Waiting for you.
he was the one they called Hero.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Now, Mad Max is back. in Beyond Thunderdome. Mel Gibson, Tina Turner, Mad Max, Beyond Thunderdome.
Welcome to Bartertown. And
Master Blaster.
yeah, this one is known for being a little more kid friendly, as they have kids in the film with Max, and Tina Turner, of course, is in the movie. It's definitely got a different feel than the Road Warrior or Mad Max did, but it's still a fun movie. And you know, we will have covered all 4 Mad Max films after we've done this, so we've had them all covered. But it's been a while since I've watched this one. It's probably the one I'm the least familiar with out of the 4 films because you know, it's okay, you know, but I'm still kind of looking forward to watching it. It's got some good moments in it.
Yeah, it ain't bad. You've got a town that runs off of pig farts or whatever, you know, so that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then you got Tina Turner.
Yeah, and did George Miller directed this one too? Yeah, he's directed all the films. Yeah. But you know, next week we're going to talk that. We're going to talk Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Beyond Thunderdome,
which is
2 men enter.
Yeah, George Miller. He had a co-director on this. George Aglio.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to look into that next week.
George and George.
So, yeah. So Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome on next week's show. But until then, man, the RebelRadioPodcast.com for all your Rebel Radio needs. Links to all the apps that we're on to listen to the show. And we thank you as always for listening, and continue to be safe out there. And that's all we've got today, man. Nothing else. But until next time, man, this has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
Remember, as always, just go there and do it.
Go there and do it.
This is Chuck Huber. You're listening to the Rebel Radio Podcast. Stop being so awesome.